to decide if he is going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short.
He has made the decision. He has said firmly this week he is going to run. Do you want him to run?
I want him to do whatever he decides to do, and that's the way it is.
I don't debate as well as I used to, but I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong. And I know how to do this job. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
12 days since President Joe Biden's debate performance, it's clear that everything is on the line. He will determine the fate of our democracy. George Clooney, who hosted a fundraiser in Los Angeles, an op-ed he wrote in the sobering case that
George Clooney publishing an op-ed in the New York Times saying Biden should go.
The Joe Biden I was with 3 weeks ago at the fundraiser was not
the Joe big effing deal Biden of 2010. He wasn't even the Joe Biden of 2020.
2020.
He was the same man.
He was the same man we all witnessed
Our
at
party
the
leaders
debate.
need to stop telling us that 51 million people did not see what we just saw.
We are not going to win in November with this president.
However, that we won't win the House, and we're going to lose the Senate.
Clooney is a very close Obama friend. Called Obama before putting out this op-ed.
You can bet he ran this statement by Barack before it went public.
This is an Obama concerted effort because we have multiple other people connected to Barack Obama who are also now saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Morning Joe co-host Mika Brzezinski said President Barack Obama was the one that put George Clooney up to writing that New York Times op-ed. Now that Biden suspect that Obama is the one that is orchestrating efforts behind the scenes to get the president to drop out of the race.
Nothing has improved since that debate. In fact, I could make an argument that things have gotten worse. I believe that if you care about democracy, to keep the country away from the threat of Donald Trump, the only path forward is for Joe Biden to step back. And that's where most of the Democratic Party, the majority of African Americans, of Hispanics, of younger voters, of new voters, all believe Joe Biden should step back. We can't risk our country's democracy because we believed in Joe Biden yesterday.
The lack of just a willingness to take a risk on somebody who might be a little bit more exciting or exciting to the base, at least, is not acceptable to do nothing. And while he has been an incredible public servant, the best public service he can perform is to step down out of the race.
Russia will not prevail in this war. And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Zelensky. Anyway.
My question for you is, what concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
The fact is that, look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Biden has vowed to stay in the race despite continuing calls from fellow Democrats to step away.
Good day. We are coming on the air with significant breaking news and a critical moment in the presidential race. NBC News has learned President Biden will step aside as the presumptive Democratic nominee. I want to show you the letter that we are just getting seconds ago from the president, from his office, in which he says that it has been the greatest honor of his life to serve as his president. He goes on to say, while it has been my intention to seek re-election, he says, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. The news comes after Wednesday's announcement by the White House that President Biden has COVID, and with growing calls by Democrats now, dozens of them publicly, who have suggested that President Biden should, in fact, withdraw from the race. His debate performance several weeks ago widely panned as disastrous. It was also, however, donors, with NBC News reporting concerns that money was beginning to dry up going to the Biden campaign until and unless the president were to take the very step that he has taken now in just the last 10 minutes. But there's a big question remaining, which is, what happens next? What happens next now to the Democratic ticket? An open mini primary, perhaps? There had also been a question of whether Kamala Harris should now take the top of the ticket, who would inherit essentially the infrastructure, the campaign money, the campaign cash, the war chest that the Biden-Harris ticket has accumulated.
And we know that there is even disagreement within the Democratic Party over whether she would be the best person to replace him at the top of the Democratic ticket.